Hey folks, welcome back to the Miami shop. The ukulele is coming along great, and we got a lot more work to do on it, so let's get right to it. Okay, at the end of our previous installment, we had finished carving the neck and we had installed the bindings. Now it's time to glue the neck and body together. This, for me, is always a one of the more interesting parts because the whole instrument comes together here, and it's becoming a ukulele now. So I always enjoy doing this step. I use a series of special clamps and cauls that were made specifically for this purpose. And there you go. After that's set for a day, I come back and I start hand sanding the entire instrument. I use 3 sets of sandpaper, 3 grits, a 320, a 400, and a 600. And I just go over the entire instrument, going with the grain on all 3 grits. I've recorded only one of those grits on this video because it's the same thing over and over again. Now that the instrument's got its sanding complete, it's time to start the finishing process. And I begin that by marking off exactly where the bridge goes, because I don't want any finish underneath the bridge. We want raw wood so that when we glue the bridge down later, it's glued to raw wood, which is much more secure. So I use some masking tape and mark off exactly where the bridge goes. I'm going to score that tape with an X-Acto knife there. And it's time to start finishing. The first coat is exciting because you really start to see that the wood grain come out. So it's fun to get the first coat on. I think when I recorded this, I only recorded the first and the third coats out of 4 coats. Ultimately, it'll get 4 coats of finish. And I wipe it on and wipe it right off. It doesn't sit on there very long. It's a very thin layer all over the instrument. I recorded only the first and the third coats out of 4 coats. And between each coat, after the second, third, and fourth coat, I will run over the instrument with a very special piece of steel wool that I get from Europe. You'll see that here in a moment. The steel wool I use, it's much finer than what you can find in the local hardware store. So I have to import that directly from Germany. First coat's finishing up here. It's really looking nice. And there's the steel wool that I mentioned. So this is the beginning of the third coat now coming up. After the first coat, I actually hit it with a very fine sandpaper, 600 grit mesh, special mesh paper that knocks off any imperfections. After the second, third, and fourth coat, it's that super fine steel wool. Okay, finishing's done and it's time to get the bridge on. And tape out around the outside of the bridge now to mark exactly where it goes. And again, using my special spreading device, I spread the glue evenly. Get that clamped in place, and that'll sit for another day as well. Okay, final day of building here. And the tuners are getting installed. I carve each nut and saddle individually. These are bone nuts and saddles. Start by sanding it right down to the right shape and then filing the slots for the nut. And stringing up. These string through bridges are actually quite easy to restring. I've got a separate video on the website to demonstrate that in detail, but I really find those easy. Checking to make sure all the frets are level here. Every once in a while you need to tap down one that's just a little tight, a little high up. And crowning any frets that need extra crowning work. And finally, polish. Cleaning it up.